Now, a lot of people would end their answer here, but I would write a third part, which is challenges to empowerment. If I'm not giving challenges, then my conclusion can be anything which is in the support of women empowerment. Not for each and every theme, but when we analyze our PYQs, we understand there are a lot of repeated themes, which get repeated 2 years and 3 years. So,
would you search in ChatGPT, or what is your mode of content collection when it comes to introduction and conclusion?
If you get the art of interlinking between subjects, generation of points becomes very easy.
Today we are working out a UPSC PYQ, something that asked in the last year with a UPSC topper. And the idea of this entire video is to demonstrate how a topper would think about a particular question. So today we have with us Yashvi, who have got All India rank 97 in this year's Civil Service exam. So we have picked up one question for this exercise. In 2025, last year mains, in GS2, UPSC had asked a very important question about women empowerment. The question reads like this: women's social capital complements in advancing empowerment and gender equity. Explain. So this was the question. So this is a topic which is very common in UPSC papers. It's talking about women empowerment. So let's see how Yashvi is brainstorming this question, how she is breaking down this problem, and how she bring a lot of content to her answers. So the idea is to explore how a topper is thinking about a question. So let's start, Yashvi, and thank you for joining with us. So let's directly go to this question demonstration. So you have written the question. So after seeing this question, so what are the thinking process that you would see? So first you have to start an introduction, and along with that you would have a very vague idea about the structuring part. So these are the two things that every writer would think about when a question comes. So tell us about how you do this.
Yes, so first of all, thank you for having me here. Secondly, when it comes to any question, like for example, this question is a 10 marker. So my first thought process would be to break it into 2 parts minimum.
Okay.
So first would obviously be our introduction. Now, if it's talking about women empowerment, the first thing I would try to do is give a data point or any committee recommendation which goes along with women empowerment.
Okay.
So, for example, in this question, it talks about how social capital complements women empowerment and gender equity. So, I could give PLFS surveys data on the number of working women, or I could also start with the DPSP, which talks about gender neutrality, because the question talks about gender equity. Or thirdly, my approach might be the literacy rate. I can mention the literacy rate of women in the country. So one of these 3 would be my value added introduction. So I try that I don't give a dry introduction. I add some value to my introductions. So I would either give a data point or I would give a committee in questions like these. Once my introduction is done, so intro includes my committees or my data points.
Yeah. I wanted to emphasize one point here, because many of those students were writing mains, write an introduction for the sake of an introduction. So that is not your approach. You always make sure that some additional fact is brought in the introduction itself.
Absolutely.
So and also there is a tendency, I mean, which are the templates that you use for introduction? So you only look at for value addition in the introduction, or there are other kind of introduction? For example, sometime you have to give the definition, sometime you have to give a context. So would you explore different kind of introduction, or like what is the logic behind you are bringing a particular committee or a data in this question?
So I believe there are 4 to 5 types of introductions which one can give. First is definitely definition based, which is used a lot in ethics specifically. So if there's a direct definition which I can pick from the question, I can go for that. Second is data based introductions. Third would be committees. Like I said, if there's a good committee, which talks about women empowerment, then you can include that. Now, and fourth would be including articles or case laws related to the question which has been mentioned. And fifth might be it can be related to our any recent incident which has happened, like current affair based introduction. So my introductions would be one of these 5. I would try and not give a dry introduction just for the sake of it. It should add value to my answer. If I can fetch even maybe 0.5 marks extra from that introduction, then I would try to do that.
All right, fine, got it. Now let's move to the body part.
Right. So now in the body, since it's a 10 marker, I would try to divide it into 2 parts. So advancing empowerment would be my first part, and gender equity would be my second part. So women's how women complements in advancing empowerment, this would be my first heading. Where I would talk about, breaking the glass ceiling effect. I would give examples of CEOs which have women CEOs or women entrepreneurs. I would talk about importance of education, importance of employment opportunities. So all these things would come in empowerment. And secondly, when it comes to gender equity, here I would try to incorporate my articles, where we talk about DPSP under Article 39, equal wages for equal work. I would also try to incorporate my case laws, if any of them are present, which talks about gender equity. So these are the 2 parts where I would break down my question, and I would try to write as many points as possible, which talks about gender equity and empowerment. Now, a lot of people would end their answer here, but I would write a third part, which is challenges to empowerment. To social capital, to women empowerment, where I would try and mention like 3 points at least before ending my answer with a conclusion. Now, when I'm giving challenges as the third part, my conclusion would include way forward if I don't have space.
Okay, all right, got it.
So this would be like a broad structure. If I'm not giving challenges, then my conclusion can be anything which is in the support of women empowerment. So I can mention government schemes here. If I'm not mentioning a committee in introduction, I would mention a committee here. I would also mention quotes here. So these are usually how I would in the end conclude my answer. So one thing that I always did in all my answers, whether it be paucity of time or not, is always give a good intro and conclusion.
All right. Okay. So for that to give a good introduction and conclusion, would you study different kind of introduction and conclusion for each and every theme?
Not for each and every theme, but when we analyze our PYQs, we understand there are a lot of repeated themes, which get repeated 2 years and 3 years. So if you can prepare good intros and conclusions for at least those themes, I feel half the work is done. You're there, because there are high chances that those are going to come in if you have like a unique touch in those questions, because everybody will be writing the same content, but you want to make your answer different from others. So if you can find a unique quote, you can find a unique data point, a unique committee. So that adds a lot of value to our answers.
All right. So for that, would you search in ChatGPT, or what is your mode of content collection when it comes to introduction and conclusion? So would you rely on some classes to do that, or would you just write those good things separately in a notebook? So what is that content creation with respect to introduction and conclusion?
So for this, I did 2 to 3 things. Firstly was newspapers. So there are a lot of good quotes which ministers have used, which bureaucrats have used. So I would pick up those quotes or, those phrases from that, like from the newspapers or news channels. Secondly would be data books. So during mains, there are a lot of data books which come, where you can easily pick up data from there and make your own data sheet from those. So I would do that. And third would be interlinking of subjects. So a lot of people don't do that. Now, if you have social justice, content from social justice, you can easily use it in society. And you can easily use quotes which we read in ethics or for our essay in our GS answers also. So I would really try to interlink all the subjects rather than reading them in silos. So that really helped me pick up content directly from one subject and put it in another.
Great. So let's come to the body part once again. So in these questions, you will be writing 3 challenges: good introduction, good conclusion. In the first part, where you write about advancing empowerment, how many points you would ideally write in this kind of questions?
One thing that I always have implemented is not limit myself when it comes to the number of points. Now, a lot of people say write 10 points, write 15 points, but I would write as many points as the space permitted, the time permitted, and my knowledge permitted.
Okay.
So I never limited myself to the number of points that I'm writing, but definitely I would make sure for a 10 marker, 10 points are definitely getting included. If it goes beyond that, perfect. But minimum 10 would be there. Similar for 15 marker, 15 points have to be there. If it goes beyond that, then well and good.
Okay, so but how to generate as many as good points like this? So it's tough, right? Like what is the thinking process that help you to generate maximum number of points in each and every question?
So again, I feel there are two things for this. First is priority. You have to prioritize your points. Okay. So I believe there's nothing as good point or a bad point, but there is less relevant point and more relevant point. So write the more relevant points which are unique first, and write which are the generic points which everyone might be writing a little below that. So that is one approach that I followed. Secondly is utilization of your notes. The more value added your notes are, the more crisp your notes are, more easily you will be able to generate points. And third thing which helps is again interlinking. If you get the art of interlinking between subjects, generation of points becomes very easy. It does not remain that difficult anymore.
And also number of points also comes with an opportunity cost of analyzing or explaining that point.
Definitely.
So how much length you would use for one point? Would you limit yourself to write only 3 or 4 keywords related to that particular point? Or would you find yourself time and space to write an explanation for that point? So what is the approach towards that?
Right. Okay. So for GS 1 to 3, I would write. I really try to reduce my verbatim as much as possible. So for every point, I would try and substantiate it. I would not just leave the point. For example, if you're writing infrastructure development, I would not just leave it at that. I would either give an example, okay, like this infrastructure was developed through PPP model, or I would give like a committee recommendation related to infrastructure. So I would substantiate each point, and from GS 1 to 3, my points would be maximum of 2 lines. And GS4, which is your ethics. Ethics is one place where you can write longer points, I believe, because if you don't explain your points in ethics, your point does not come across. So in ethics, I would even explain the example that I'm giving, that how is that relevant to the point that I've written. So ethics would sometimes exceed to 3 to 4 lines also.
So would you write substantiation for each and every point, or like suppose in one point you don't have any substantiation as such? So in that case, like you will somehow write the point without any substantiation. Is that the method you use?
I mean, I try to substantiate 70 to 80% of my points.
Okay.
So the more you substantiate, I feel the better it looks. So again, like I said, time, speed, and your content. These three are very important to understand how much you are able to write. So I would try to substantiate as many points as I could, but even if I couldn't substantiate a point, I would put it low on my priority order. I would not write it initially. I would write it towards the end. So for the points which I could not substantiate, that is the approach I followed.
My final question is that to generate this much of points, so do you might have already prepared the crisp note, as you said. So what is this note taking process look like? So you attended a class or you read a standard material and then you made a elaborate note. Then when the exam comes, you started to prioritize and consolidate and trim the points. So is that the process that you done?
So I'll just explain in brief the process that I followed for note making. So I picked up one base material for my notes. For example, so let's say for polity it was Lakshmikant. I would first make my base notes, which were a little bulky, but I would try to incorporate everything in it. Okay, like from examples to articles to case laws. So
this is by keeping mains in mind or
mains in mind. So I made my prelims notes separately, mains notes separately. So right now I'm just talking about my mains notes specifically. So I would read the main base material that we have, and I would make notes according to the syllabus and the PYQs. So that would be my base notes. Now, once I started answer writing, whether it be PYQs, whether it be any test series, then I would value add in my notes itself. I would not switch my sources based on that, okay, my notes does not have this, I should switch to another source. I would just value add the points which were missing in my base notes. Now, once I revised my base notes twice or thrice, then I would switch to making short notes, which only included keywords of each topic. So, for example, we are doing parliament. I would, in my short notes, I would only include the articles, the case laws which are relevant, specific provisions that are there, specifically PYQs which get repeated. I would add those. So my short notes would be like 1 pages. That's it. Like just keywords.
Okay.
So that
So
is
in one
how I
team,
did it.
it'll be like 1 page for Parliament, 1 page.
Exactly, correct.
So how much time you would read that?
So short notes is you read short notes just before your mains exam, because you don't have the time to read your entire base notes. So twice or if time permits thrice, I would read my short notes and I would be done. So confidence is also very important, that you have enough content and you revise that and you implement it.
Okay, great.
So,
Okay, it's nice to talking to you, Yashvi, and it's an insightful conversation of
thank you
how
so
somebody
much.
would write an important question like this. So thank you so much. I also draw a lot of insights from your session.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Thank you
yes,
so
sure.
much.
Okay.
Lead IAS, #1 IAS Academy in Kerala.